Okay, friends. So, as you know, this week we're going to reflect and practice around something that has felt like really present in my life personally, and it's also come up in this Sangha, literally and metaphorically. And that is the element of fire. And in a literal sense, of course, as we've talked about, there are wildfires that are burning across our hemisphere right now. Some of them not so far from where I live. I know from where some of you live as well. And in a more figurative sense, there's a lot of heated energy, right, across our society these days. So conflicts, violence, including war, outrage, all kinds of polarization around political and social divides. We see that so widely. And for some of us, there's also like some internal fire, anger or frustration, even rage about what's happening in our world, about our own personal situations and difficulties. So we are surrounded by the presence of this element in many ways. And fire has always been a part of life here on Earth. So it's not an enemy. In every ecosystem, fire has a role. So it burns away what's dead. As we've talked about, breaks open seeds. It makes space for new growth, and it fulfills its role best when it's held in relationship with other elements. So earth offering containment, water bringing cooling, space allowing breath and renewal. A bit of air fuels a fire, not too much, because that can burn out of control. So in balance, fire becomes energizing and cleansing and transformative. But when it's out of balance, when there's too much heat or too little containment, it can become vastly destructive, as we know. So watching fire in nature teaches us the same truth about our own inner fire. It needs relationship and balance and wise tending. And as humans, when we see fire, our instinct can be to panic. So to do whatever we can to put it out. I don't know about you, but I have used that phrase, putting out fires. You ever use that phrase? Countless times to describe trying to avoid difficult or uncomfortable situations or to stop things from going wrong. But in nature and in our inner lives, sometimes the wisest response is not to rush in with literal or metaphorical buckets of water, but to discern, is there a wisdom in letting this fire burn? Is something asking to be released or to be cleared away so space can open for new growth? And this is very much a form of radical acceptance, right? Like trusting that not everything needs to be controlled and that some burning is part of life's system of renewal. So in our inner ecosystem, anger, outrage, frustration, the heat of strong emotion, often they don't feel good, but they're not bad inherently. And in fact, they can be deeply purposeful. These energies often arise when something important to us is in danger. So our safety, our dignity, or the dignity of others, our sense of justice, our well-being, or the well-being of someone or something we really care about. So one of the greatest wisdoms of anger is that it often points toward what matters and also often towards our unmet needs. If we can pause long enough to ask, what is this fire protecting or what is it calling for? Then fire can become a guide rather than a destroyer. And another wisdom of fire is that it brings energy, right? So just as fire in nature releases a burst of heat and light, these fiery energies can awaken vitality in us. So fuel that can move us to act or to speak up or to protect what matters. And that energy can be a gift. And the challenge, of course, is to channel it wisely so that it doesn't consume us or others. And there's a third piece of wisdom that fire offers, which is cleansing. In the forest, fire clears away what's dead or overgrown, and it releases seeds that only open in heat under those conditions. And it also makes space for new growth. So in our inner life, emotions like anger can serve a similar role, helping us burn through what no longer serves us, what might be stifling our vitality, and clearing the way for something new and truer to emerge. So when we work with it skillfully, it can be a force for renewal, not just destruction. And having said all of that, for many of us, like myself, 100% included here, we've been conditioned to fear or avoid this kind of energy. And it could be for very good reasons. Maybe we grew up in homes or communities where anger was explosive or unpredictable or even violent. And so we understandably learned to see it as dangerous. We might have been taught that good people or children don't get angry, or that being loving or spiritual means being calm and even-tempered and agreeable all the time. In some spiritual circles, anger has been framed as a sign that we're not like mindful enough, or maybe we're not evolved enough. And so when fire arises in us, we might feel shame or aversion or self-judgment. We might push it down or pretend it's not there. But here's the trouble with that. Suppressing fire in this way creates its own problems. We can end up with a tinderbox of emotional debris and unmet needs that can explode when the right spark sets it off in ways that are far more destructive. And of course, it needs to be named that, on the other hand, if we become the fire, like if we get hijacked and possessed by the heat, it can scorch us and what we most care about. And for those of us who maybe have that tendency towards really explosive, kind of reactive response to fire, yeah, sometimes lashing out might feel powerful in a moment. There could be a rush, a sense of righteousness or something, but it's fleeting. It doesn't meet that deeper need that lit the flame in the first place, so it can leave lasting damage in its wake. So the practice, as so often is the case, is to find the middle way. So not suppressing, not exploding, but meeting the fire with skill. And it occurs to me that this is the way a healthy forest ecosystem holds fire. So it allows it to clear what's needed, while the moisture and the diversity and the resilience of that ecosystem keeps it from consuming the whole landscape. And this reminds me of what some indigenous traditions call the fire keeper. So this is the one who is entrusted to tend the communal fire, to keep it alive and steady through the night. And a fire keeper doesn't fear the flames and doesn't let them run wild either. So they feed that fire just enough. They watch over it with care. And in the same way, we can call on, our inner elder, our inner fire keeper, to hold the fire, to honor it, to guide it, and to help us discern how it moves. And this inner elder doesn't rush to smother flames. Like, it understands that fire is part of life, and that with care, it can warm and light and protect and transform. And there's one more piece that I want to weave in here. Um, so, renowned mindfulness teacher Ruth King, she wrote incredible book, Mindful of Race. I know some of you are familiar with her. She has a line from that book. Anger is initiatory, but not transformative. So I want to name that the fire begins the process. It clears, it awakens, it signals what matters. But what follows, the tending, the caring, the wisdom, this is what allows the true transformation to take place. So it's not the fire on its own. And sometimes when we skip over that caring and we act only from the heat, what we're really doing is kind of bypassing what might be underneath or what the fire is pointing to. So I love that phrase. I don't know where this comes from, honestly. If any of you know, you might enlighten me, but it's vengeance is a lazy form of grief. So that points to the truth that under so much of our anger is something tender. So fear, hurt, love, something, something precious and tender. So the invitation today in our practice is going to be to turn towards the fire. So not away from it. To recognize it as a wise energy that's pointing us towards something important. And as we turn to practice, we do so as fire keepers of our own hearts. So choosing to honor the flame, to tend it with care, and to let it serve life, rather than consuming it. And as seems to make sense to me, we're going to use the practice of rain today as our way of kind of tending and offering some healthy containment to the fire. So we'll be recognizing the fire, allowing it to be there, investigating what it's protecting or calling for, and then offering it a nurturing presence, becoming, that spacious, kind of well-resourced forest that can safely hold the flame. Okay? So we're going to practice together, friends. And I'm going to invite you to prepare your body for a period of stillness here. So we've been sitting for a little bit. We've been sharing, and I've been sharing lots of words. So whatever you need to do, a little stretch. A stretch would feel good to me. If you want some water, blanket, anything that would help you to support the body. And when you're ready, just finding a posture that allows you to feel both supported and also easeful. Steady. When you're ready, you might close the eyes or soften the gaze. And just beginning to draw the attention inward. And noticing what it's like to be in this body, breathing this breath, this one. And now, what is this breath like? And this one. Just allowing that breath to flow in and out naturally for a few more breaths. Collecting the attention, arriving here. And as you're breathing, on your next inhale, you might imagine inhaling through the soles of the feet. So bringing the breath all the way up to the crown. And then once you've filled the body with breath, exhaling with a sigh. And then again, inhaling through the soles of the feet, inviting the energy of the earth to flow through you, filling the body. And then exhaling with a sigh. And one more breath like this together. So again, inhaling through the soles of the feet, drawing the energy, the support of the earth, allowing this to be your deepest, fullest breath of the day so far. And as you exhale, just inviting the body and the mind and the heart to be at the same place at the same time. And knowing that you are here together as Sangha. And tuning in now to the sensations, that felt sense of this moment. You might scan through the body a little and just sense if there are obvious areas of tightness or tension. Seeing what might want to let go or relax, even just a little. A loosening, a melting. Noticing where there's tingling in the body, that sense of aliveness. How the sensations change as you rest your awareness on them. And again, inviting the support of the earth into your practice, just noticing where you contact the surface beneath you. And then acknowledging the vast support of the earth beneath that surface. And sensing also the atmosphere above and around you. This rich alchemy of oxygen and carbon and hydrogen, all the elements that sustain life, moving through you with each breath. Letting yourself feel part of this greater circulation, same air breathed by trees and animals, plants and all beings in all directions, all the way throughout time. Allowing yourself to be deeply held and nourished. Resting here, supported by earth and sky. One tiny, precious part of the whole. And sensing that within this body and within this vast living web, there is also the element of fire. The warmth of your own life force. That steady heat at the core of you and of the earth that allows there to be life in this moment. And when you're ready, you might bring to mind a moment where you felt some of that heat in your emotional experience. So, not the most overwhelming burning fire, but one that feels workable to explore here. So, taking a moment to bring that to life in your body, in your mind, in your heart. Getting into contact with a moment where you felt the inner arising of your fire. You might sense circumstances, any words that were spoken if others were involved. And we begin this practice of rain by just recognizing what is here. So you might softly name it anger. Frustration is here. Whatever it is, recognizing this fire without judgment, just as it is. And hand in hand with the recognizing at the same time is allowing it. No pushing it away, no trying to change it. Making room. And like a fire keeper who doesn't fear this flame, you might quietly greet it with a yes, where this belongs. If you feel some contraction in the presence of the fire, making room for that too. All of you and your experience is welcome. And as we begin to investigate, curiosity and gentleness, exploring what this fire is pointing to. And how does it feel in the body? So noticing it first as sensation. Maybe there is a physical heat. Could be in the throat, in the chest, in the belly. Maybe there's a tension there. If you're uncomfortable with fire, there could be some deeply conditioned resistance that arises. That is okay too. But if you can, tending this fire with softness and listening, what is this fire protecting? Or what does it want you to know? Opening to the wisdom that fire has to offer you inside this safe container. As you connect with the message that fire is bringing to you, ask yourself, what does this part of me most need? How does it want me to be with it? And there are no right answers here, or no wrong answers. Just listening, sensing, and inviting now for you to feel the sense of expanding into your inner elder or your inner fire keeper, or any being or presence you sense has the capacity to offer whatever is most needed in response to what the fire is teaching you. And you might invite this presence, this capacity into your posture, noticing if you might sit up a little taller or open your heart a little wider, or whatever feels like it helps you to embody the type of presence that is being asked for. And you might place a hand on the heart or the belly or anywhere where you most feel the sensations of fire. And then as you breathe, offering and sensing whatever is most needed flowing directly into the center of the vulnerable, tender place. And if the place of fire doesn't feel particularly vulnerable or tender right now, that's also okay. Perhaps what it needs is cooling, or space to be heard. To be loved. You might picture yourself as a balanced forest with enough moisture and diversity to safely hold the fire, allowing it to burn and clear away and energize in whatever ways are needed without damaging the whole. And taking a moment now just to rest in the vast, compassionate field that is your loving presence and your true home. And the awareness that within you are fire and earth and air and water and all that arises. And we'll close with a poem called The Wisdom of Fire. I used to see fire as a villain. Now I know it as a teacher. A tree, once a seed, nourished into greatness, becomes light, becomes ash, and then, softened by rain, returns to soil, ready for another seed. Fire teaches that loss can also be illumination, a glow that uncovers what has been waiting in silence. What we release becomes ground for what comes next. So I sit with fire as a companion, as a guide, asking it to teach me how to begin again. Really taking your time coming back. You might invite a little bit of movement into the body, some deeper, fuller breaths. You might open the eyes slowly, just allowing the light to filter back in, a little at a time. Reorienting yourself to the space around you. And when you're ready, this shared space, no rush. Thank you for your practice, my friend.